What you hear about how your schools are funded really depends on who you ask. If you listen to some people in Tallahassee, they'll tell you funding is up, which is sort of true. But if you listen to someone who works in a large urban school district in Florida, like Duval, we'll tell you funding is down, and that's true too. So what's the whole truth? Florida public schools funding is overly complicated, but essentially there are two types of funds. Discretionary funds are dollars the school district can use for any of its operating costs. It's how we pay teachers and school principals and buy supplies and instructional resources for kids. For example, it takes discretionary dollars to keep teachers' salaries competitive and to meet the rising cost of healthcare. The second type of funds are called categorical funds. These funds can only be used for specific purposes, as dictated by the legislature. For example, if Tallahassee gives you money to buy computers, you can't use it to buy STEM supplies. Same goes if the state were to give us funds for mental health. That's all you can use it for. But here's the catch. The discretionary money used to pay our day-to-day bills is going down. The categorical money is going up. And that's how school funding is going both up and down at the same time. Let's take a closer look at what this means for Duval County Public Schools. Our discretionary funding for the 2018-2019 school year is about the same as it was last year. But factor in inflation for things like custodial services, fuel costs, and even raises for teachers. Well, you get the picture. When funding is flat, it's really a decrease or a cut. Tallahassee did send us some new cash in the categorical funding category. But remember, how we can spend that money has already been predetermined by your state legislature. It's kind of like if your boss gives you a gift card to buy a pair of shoes. But if the gift card is only enough to cover the cost of one shoe and not the whole pair, it's not much of a gift. And it's not like you can use that money for anything else, like your rent. So even if your boss calls that gift a raise, it really isn't. That's Florida educational funding. A few partial gift cards and no real raises. Those state officials rarely give us enough funding to cover the full cost of the law. So, school districts like Duval have to dig deeper into operational funding to pay those costs. That's called an unfunded mandate, and we've got plenty. Take, for instance, the new law that requires all districts to put an armed employee on each school campus. Unless we're willing to arm our teachers, which we're not, we need to hire enough security assistants to work at more than 100 schools, which will cost close to $4.2 million. But the state is only giving us about $3.5 million. The result is an unfunded mandate of over $600,000. With flat or declining operating revenue and ever-increasing unfunded mandates, Duval County Public Schools currently faces a budget deficit of $62 million. And with a budget cut like that, there are going to have to be some changes. Change is often hard, and changes forced because of a budget shortfall are often the hardest. While we at Duval County Public Schools will continue to do everything we can to minimize the impact in the classroom, you really have to ask Tallahassee, is this what an increase in school funding really looks like?